Imagine a rivalry so toxic that it literally tore an entire city in half. A town where two local bakeries wouldn't serve the same customers, where marrying someone from across the river was seen as treason, and where residents were nicknamed bentnecks because before saying hello, they would look down at your feet to see what brand of shoes you were wearing. Welcome to Germany, the birthplace of two global sportswear giants, Adidas and Puma. Most corporate rivalries were born in sleek Silicon Valley boardrooms between anonymous executives, but this $30 billion sneaker war wasn't born out of business strategy. It was born out of pure, unadulterated sibling hatred between two brothers, Adolf and Rudolf Dassler. And as a marketer, what makes this story incredible isn't just the family drama, while there is a lot of drama, that is incredible. It's that this personal hatred accidentally invented modern sports marketing. From under the table bribes at the Olympic Games to a $120,000 shoelace hack that stole the 1970 World Cup. Today we are breaking down the dirtiest brand war in corporate history and analyzing how both brands still use these exact same marketing playbooks to compete today. To understand how this war started, we have to go back to 1920s. Adolf, nicknamed Addy, and Rudolf, Rudi, Dassler were operating out of their mother's laundry room in Bavaria. They succeeded early on because they were a textbook marketing team. Addy was a product genius, quiet, introverted, and utterly obsessed with leather, spikes, and athletic performance. Rudi was a sales genius, charismatic, bombastic, and an early pioneer of influencer marketing. In 1936, the brothers pulled off the first modern influencer marketing campaign in sports history. The 1936 Berlin Olympics were designed to be a showcase for Nazi propaganda, but Addy drove to the Olympic Village with a suitcase full of handmade leather track spikes and tracked down American sprinter Jesse Owens. Addy convinced Owens to wear his shoes. Owens went on to win 4 gold medals on global newsreels. Overnight, the Dassler brand wasn't just a local shoe shop, it was an international household name, selling over 200,000 pairs of shoes a year before World War II. Then World War II hit, and the brothers' relationship completely collapsed. Rudi was drafted into the German military while Addy stayed behind to run the factory, which was converted to a manufacture weapons. Rudi grew convinced that Addy was plotting against him. The boiling point came when, during an Allied bombing raid, Rudi and his family jumped into an underground bomb shelter where Addy and his wife were already hiding. Addy allegedly shouted, "The dirty bastards are back again," meaning the Allied bombers, but Rudi was convinced Addy was talking about him and his family. They never spoke cordially again. In 1948, they split the company down the middle. Addy took his nickname Addy and the first letters of his last name Das and created Adidas. Rudi took his initial and created Ruda, later rebranding it to Puma. They built factories on opposite sides of the river in Germany. The town instantly divided. Adidas workers drank at Adidas bars. Puma workers shopped at Puma stores. The two brothers died in the 1970s without ever reconciling, and were buried at opposite ends of the same cemetery. When you hate your competitor that much, traditional marketing goes out the window. The 1950s through the 1970s became the golden era of ambush marketing between Adidas and Puma. So let's look at 3 wild moments that changed sports marketing forever. The first is the 1954 miracle of burn. This was product innovation. So in 1954 World Cup final, underdog West Germany faced the invincible Hungarian national team in a torrential downpour. Addy was on the sidelines with West Germany, providing them with a secret weapon, screw-in studs. While the Hungarians slipped in heavy, waterlogged boots, the German team swapped studs for the mud and pulled off a massive shock victory. Adidas proved that product innovation could drive brand equity better than any billboard. Next is a 1970 Pele Pact and the $120,000 shoelace ambush. By 1970, Edson Arantes do Nascimento, better known as Pele, was the biggest star on planet Earth. Both Adidas and Puma knew that bidding for Pele would trigger an expensive war that would ruin both companies. So Adi's son, Horst, and Rudi's son, Armin, signed an official written truce called the Pele Pact. Neither company was allowed to sign Pele. Puma secretly broke that pact. A Puma rep named Hans secretly offered Pele $120,000 to execute one specific move. Seconds before the 1970 World Cup quarterfinals kickoff, Pele asked the referee to pause so he could tie his shoes. The broadcast camera zoomed in directly on the center pitch as Pele knelt down wearing a pair of Puma Kings. Puma didn't buy a single broadcast slot. They hijacked the moment where global attention was concentrated, generating a reported 300% surge in sales. And lastly, the 1974 Johan Cruyff two-stripe revolt. At the 1974 World Cup, the Netherlands national team was sponsored by Adidas. All player jerseys featured the iconic three stripes down the sleeves. However, Dutch superstar Cruyff was under an exclusive personal sponsorship with Puma. Cruyff flat out refused to promote Puma's rival. He told the Dutch Football Association, "If I wear an Adidas logo, you have to pay me." The Dutch FA gave in. They custom made a bespoke jersey specifically for Cruyff that only had two stripes running down the sleeve. Cruyff played the tournament wearing a two-stripe Adidas jersey and Puma King boots, making the visual mismatch one of the most famous brand rebellions in football history. By the late 1980s, the world changed. The Dassler brothers passed away, and both Adidas and Puma almost went extinct. Why? Because while they were busy fighting each other in Germany, an American upstart named Nike signed a rookie named Michael Jordan in 1984 and rewrote the global sports playbook. At the same time, hip-hop exploded. Run DMC released their hit track My Adidas in 1986, forcing Adidas to realize that lifestyle fashion was just as lucrative as athletic performance. Both German companies had to pivot from family-run regional factories into modern corporate conglomerates. Adidas was saved in the 90s by executive Robert Dreyfus, who shifted production overseas and brought back cultural relevance through streetwear collaborations. Puma was saved by 29-year-old CEO Zietz, who repositioned Puma as a high-fashion lifestyle-first brand. So where does this war stand today? Today, both companies sit on opposite ends of classic marketing matrix. The market leader versus the agile challenger. Adidas plays defense on massive global scale. The strategy. They monopolize mega events and tier 1 football clubs. The crossover. They leverage deep archival heritage. When hyper collaborations like Yeezy fall apart, Adidas weathered the storm by orchestrating the massive global resurgence of the Samba, Gazelle, and Speisel, turning 1970s terrace culture shoe into a dominant footwear trend. Puma cannot outspend Nike or Adidas on every athletic property, so they execute a specialized niche strategy. Motorsport dominance. Puma quietly locked up official apparel deals with Formula One, including Ferrari, Mercedes-AMG, and McLaren. As F1 exploded in popularity in North America, Puma sat on an untapped gold mine. Pop culture and micro trends. Puma focuses on agility. They sign icons like Rihanna, leaned into niche sports like High Rocks Fitness, and brought back slim racing silhouettes like the Puma Speedcat right as fashion shifted away from chunky dad shoes. So what can marketers learn from 70 years of Adidas versus Puma? Rivalries build categories. Without Puma pushing Adidas, neither company would have scaled to a global level. A fierce rival forces a brand to innovate, stay nimble, and clarify its identity. Ambush marketing beats big budgets. Puma didn't have the budget to sponsor the 1970 World Cup, but Pele tying his shoes generated more cultural ROI return on investment than official stadium banners. Find where the eyes are going and create a narrative around that moment. Know your lane. Adidas wins on scale and deep heritage. Puma wins on speed, subcultures, and agility. Trying to mimic your larger competitor's strategy usually leads to failure. Lean into what makes your brand distinct. Are you team three stripes or team leaping cap? Drop your favorite shoe brand and your thoughts on the Dassler feud in the comments below. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Other than that, stay tuned for future videos and have a happy and healthy day. See you later.